Welcome everybody to edfd459, the learning space. My name is Adam Staples and I'm your lecturer for the coming weeks. The purpose of this video is actually to talk you through the basic structure of the unit so that you have an understanding of where to find the different elements, so things like the unit outline and where to find readings, so on and so forth, so that as we start to ramp up as of the 28th of July, so from the beginning of the semester, you have some sense of familiarity with what is going on. So I don't expect you to just jump into a unit and blindly try and find your way around it. All the research shows that if you're given some kind of guidance to find to find the different resources to navigate around the unit, you actually end up having a far more beneficial experience. Now, by the fact that you're actually watching this video, you've already accessed the unit online, which is absolutely fantastic. And when you access the unit, you would have seen one module appearing on your screen that said welcome. And you would have clicked on that, and you would have seen that there were two steps. There was step 1 and step 2. So step 1 is watching the welcome video, which you're doing now, which is absolutely fantastic. And as I said, this is just to welcome you to the unit and also to introduce you to the structure of the unit as it's going to appear going forward for the next few weeks. And then there's step number 2, which I'll talk about briefly in a second. Just before we start looking at the structure of the unit though, I just want to reassure people that whilst the online environment may be new to many of you, the unit is structured around a number of theoretical underpinnings which allow us to not only engage with the content of learning spaces, always considering, of course, that the online environment is a very valid learning space that we will actually be exploring. But we also put in strategies to ensure that you begin to learn how to learn online. Okay, so there's a significant amount of support in the unit, both from myself, certainly at the initial stages, but also from experienced teachers, experienced students and teachers in the unit. So there are many different ways of finding support in the unit. The other important thing to understand is that it's actually not competitive. Okay, so it's not about who's going to be the best. It's about everybody learning at their individual pace and meeting their own goals. But once we've got over the first week, we then start to talk about that a little bit more. Okay, onto the structure of the unit. So you've accessed the video and you've watched that, which is absolutely fantastic. Then what I'd like you to do is click onto step number 2. So step number 2 says sign up to your cohort group. Click on this link. And just before we do that, I just want to explain why I'm asking you to do this. There are students from 4 different cohorts in this unit, some of whom are using the 12-week schedule, some of whom are using a 9-week schedule. And the students who are using the 9-week schedule actually don't come back on campus until sort of week 8 of the semester. So there are 2 different groups that are going to be operating on different time frames. So it's really important that I'm able to distinguish who you are so that I can send you relevant information at the right time. So this is actually the easiest way and the most efficient way of asking you to sign into your cohort group. So when you're ready, click on the sign up to your cohort group, and this will take you to a new page. And this is literally an online signing in sheet. And you'll notice that I've split the cohorts into a number of different groups. So we have second year students in the Bachelor of Education and the Bachelor of Early Childhood Education. We have third year students, again in the Bachelor of Education Primary and the Bachelor of Education Early Childhood and Primary. We have fourth year upgraders who are not final fourth year students. They are students who have already been practicing teachers and have come back for some extra study. And then we have 5 other groups which are for final semester students. So these are for final year undergraduate students. And because, again, you're all operating within different timeframes as well, I'm asking you to allocate yourself into your particular campus. Okay? Doesn't mean that you're going to be separated for the entire time. As I said, it just means that I can manage your timetables a bit better. So if you're a second year student, you put yourself into the second year group. If you're a third year student, you put yourself into the third year group. If you're a fourth year upgrader, you put yourself into the fourth year upgrader group. And if you're a final semester undergraduate student, you put yourself into your campus group. Now, just for the purpose of this exercise, I'm actually going to put myself into the second year group, just so you can see what happens. So you click on join this group. It'll then show you here that there's one person in that group, and if you want to see who's in there, you can actually click on view membership. And that'll show you that I've put myself into that group. Okay, once you've done that, you actually want to return back to your the unit homepage. So you click on edfd459, which I always do up here, but you can also use the menu on the left-hand side. And you'll notice that once you have actually signed into your group, that 4 additional modules appear. Okay, and I've done that on purpose so that we get you into a group before you can actually see the other content, because, as I've said, the content needs to be separated out. So the information that will appear is you've got a unit information module. Your welcome module will still be there. You have a communication module. You have the module for week 1, and then you have an assignments module. And what we're going to do is very quickly go through this now, just so that you have an understanding of the structure of the unit and what is expected of you in your first week. So if we go to the unit information module, okay, now when you log in, you will actually only see one unit outline, okay, but because I'm operating on my staff code, I can see 2 unit outlines, and you'll notice that there's one for the 4th year upgrade students, 2nd year students and 3rd year students, and there's one for the final semester students. When you've signed into your sign up group, you will only see the 1 unit outline that is relevant to you, and that's really important. If you were a 4th year upgrader student and you went into the incorrect group and you got the final semester unit outline, you'd be operating on a very confusing schedule and you wouldn't know what was going on. So it's very important at that signing into your group stage that you sign into the correct one. When you click on the link for the unit outline, you'll actually see that it's an e-unit outline. Okay, this is an online unit, so we're trying to make it as paperless as we possibly can. So your unit outline has actually been developed as a web page for you. On the left-hand side, you've got the menu with all the different sections, and if you were to click on any one of those sections or on the menu, it takes you to that particular part of the unit outline. So if I wanted to have a look at the study schedule, I'd click on study schedule, and it would take me to the study schedule in the unit outline. Now, rather than have to scroll all the way up to the top, if you go to the bottom of each section, you'll see it actually says back to top of page. If I click on that, it takes me back up to my menu. If I wanted to have a look at the details for assignment number 1, I click on that, and it takes me to assignment 1 details. Again, scroll to the bottom of that section, and click on back to top of page, and it takes me back up to where I need to be. So that is your e-unit outline. Within there, there are many different links which will take you directly to the information that you're looking at. Also within the unit information module, we have got staff biography as well, which you can have a look at to see what I'm up to in my own research and my own study. The next important module that we have is the communication module, and this is going to be vital throughout the course of your semester. So if you click on the communication module, you'll see that there are 2 discussion forums in there. So one of them is called Questions and Queries for Adam, and the other is called Important Messages from Adam. This communication module remains live throughout the whole semester, and this is where we communicate with each other on matters that aren't content specific. So if you have a question or query for me about anything, you go into the Questions and Queries for Adam forum, click on Add New Discussion Topic, and you post a message to me. If I have something important that I wish to send to the whole unit, I will click on the Important Messages from Adam forum, and likewise I will send you a message that way. So this means that we know that when we're communicating with each other, that the communication module is always there. Throughout the course of the semester, there are going to be many other discussion forums as well, used as part of our study and part of our exploration. But if you have queries or administrative queries, or you just need to ask anything, you put them into the questions and queries from Adam, for Adam. You'll also find that experienced learners will start to answer your questions as well. So you don't necessarily need to wait for me to get back to you. So this is a really important hub of the unit where we develop our communication skills and our communication relationship. Then we have the week 1 module. And first of all, I'm going to go through how this is actually structured, because this is how each week will be structured throughout the semester. One of the very important parts of developing an online unit is that learners within the unit, so yourselves, have a good understanding of how content is going to be delivered, how it's going to appear. If I was to chop and change the structure of each weekly module, it would mean that every week you're having to learn a new way of navigating around the unit, and that just does not help your learning at all. So each week has actually been designed with a series of headings that appear every week, and they appear in the same order with the same kind of resources underneath them. So you know that where you're going. So that means that by week 2, you're actually very familiar with the way that the unit runs. So at the top of each module we'll have the week. So they're actually weekly modules, and they've been put into larger modules. So module 1 is actually week 1 and week 2. So the week 1 module gives you a title, so edfd459, the learning space, and that will change throughout the semester. We then have here we've got ECOP and salmon. Now these refer to 2 underpinning theories that I use to structure the unit so that you can learn how to become an online learner. This is sort of an extra that you get as being part of this unit. Not only are you going to be learning about learning spaces, but you actually learn how to become an effective online learner. ECOP is a framework that has been developed over the last few months based on work that I do in these online units. And then salmon refers to a framework called a five-stage model by an author called Gilly Salmon. The main framework we're going to be using is ECOP, and it's a new framework, so it's still in draft form, so it will change. But underpinning ECOP will actually be the salmon reading as well, so the salmon framework. And as I said, these are not necessarily what you're learning about, but you will quickly begin to realize that they give you a framework to I suppose, balance your learning off. So you understand what you're meant to be achieving as an online learner. Underneath ECOP and salmon, we've actually got some weekly achievements. So in week 1, one of your achievements will be to understand how the ECOP model explains the online space and its interrelationship with students, lecturers, learning and teaching. Also to understand salmon's 5-stage model and how that relates to the ECOP model. You'll successfully set up your computer so that the Adobe Connect software can be used. So Adobe Connect is the software that we use when we have our online conversations. So we actually have online meetings every couple of weeks. You'll post your first message to a forum confirming that you're ready to begin. And in doing all of those things, you're actually beginning to personalize your online learning environment. So you're beginning to understand how Leo works, and you're taking control of it, you're taking ownership of it. So you're not just sort of randomly posting information, you're actually knowing how to post really effective and concise information. Then there's an introduction to the weekly module that tells you what we're up to. Then you'll have a readings heading, and under that you'll have the readings for that particular week, and the readings are all linked. So you're not expected to go to the library and find it yourself. They're actually all linked, so you have direct access to them. Resources that are going to be used for that particular week. Discussion forums that are going to be used for that particular week. If there's an Adobe Connect session that week, there'll be an ACS heading. So in week 1, we do have an Adobe Connect session on Tuesday the 29th of July at 6 p.m. So you need to read the core reading 1C, which is this Adobe Connect one, to set up your computer, and then we meet on Tuesday evening online as a group. And then every week you'll have an e-tivity. So e-tivities form assessment number 1 or assignment number 1 There are 12 of them over the course of the semester, and what they do is it's a series of little activities that, that basically build up your confidence using the online environment, and they also go towards preparing you for your 2 other major assignments as well. We will specifically look at e-activities in the Adobe Connect session on Tuesday the 29th of July. If any of you can't make the 29th of July at 6 p.m, don't worry, because each session is recorded and you can actually pick up the recording of the Adobe Connect session at a later time, very much in the same way that you're listening to this, this welcome video at the moment. So that's the basic structure of a week in edfd459. We then also have our assignments module, and within the assignments module, you've got assignment 1, assignment 2, and assignment 3. And each section will have the details for the assignment, which links directly back to the e-unit outline. It'll have the marking guide for the assignment, which again links directly back to the e-unit outline, and it also has a discussion forum for that particular assignment. So one thing that you'll be becoming familiar with and learning over the course of the semester is that there are many discussion forums, and that is because it's more beneficial to have multiple discussion forums, with each forum having a particular area of interest, rather than using one big forum for absolutely everything, because it's very easy to get lost in that. But again, in the Adobe Connect session on Tuesday the 29th, we'll be explaining the assignments a little bit more. When you've actually been watching this video, you'll notice that sometimes some of the resources are repeated. That's because there are 2 different streams running. So I can see both of them, you'll only be able to see one of them. But everything is set up correctly, so when you actually access the unit and you've signed into your group, you'll be seeing what you're meant to be seeing. And that really is the way the unit is structured. So hopefully this unit has given you a little bit of an insight, and it's allayed any fears you may have had about that particular space. Everything will be uniform throughout the course of the semester, so you know where you are at any given time. Key things to really remember again to be the communication module. Any question is a good question. Those of you who are new to online learning will very quickly realize that the more experienced online learners are posting questions from the very start of the unit. There's no point in sitting at home and worrying about something. Post a question, and somebody will answer it very, very quickly. Be very mindful of how you post. Okay, so this is a professional forum. It's not Facebook speak. You need to interact with people politely, and a forum still needs to have correct grammar and punctuation in it. It's not about shortened text speak or anything like that. So be very mindful that we are creating a community of practice, and that community of practice needs to be professional. We're going to be teachers, or we are teachers after all, and this is, to all intents and purposes, just an online classroom. It's not social media. We do have a use social media in this unit, but that's a little bit further down the line. So welcome to the unit. I think you'll have a good time in the unit. It's very active, and there's lots of conversation going on. Any questions you have, please feel free to put them into the communication module, or if it's of a private nature, feel free to email me. But looking forward to working with you, and spend the week beginning the 21st of July familiarizing yourself with the unit, and then from the 28th of July, that's when we hit the road running and we start to do some really serious work around learning spaces. Look forward to working with you all.